Good morning, everybody. Justin from Cappuccino Dog Training here and my dog Colt. And we're going to be breaking down our BH results. We attempted our BH in the spring. Things did not go exactly as we planned, but kind of want to lay out what we're going to do to go forward to prepare for a trial that's going to be taking place in October. And kind of look back at the video, see things we can improve upon. Fuss! And one thing that I will definitely say, I've been at this for 15 years. It was my first time at an IGP trial ever, but I have seen much worse BHs that passed with flying colors. So I was a little bit critical of the results, but for the sake of good sportsmanship, we're going to just train harder and stronger. But I am interested in everybody's opinion down in the comments below. So we're really going to dive into this, and I really am glad to have all of you with us today.
Schutzhund baby. Puss. Not training on the foot. This is the problem. Puss. Puss.
We got our crowd starting to form, and he's staying with me the best he can. We make our left about turn, proceed forward and come to our halt, and then wait for the signal of the judge to proceed through the crowd. Now again, just to point out, guys, while I've been a professional dog trainer for 15 years, working with people's pets, I still am very green to the whole world of dog sport. So still a big learning curve for me as a handler. You can see right there probably is definitely at least 2 times I give him some help, a tug on the leash to maintain his focus. Whereas if I would have just proceeded through this crowd, even with that inattention, I probably would not have lost the pointage that I did had I would have just let him be. And while it's not the prettiest, it still would have been enough for us to get a pass, because while he's a little bit nervous, I'm a little bit nervous. He's looking around a whole lot. He did not display any aggression, no growling going through that crowd, and came to the finish at the end. And that brings us to the off-leash portion of the BH with our off-leash obedience. And while this is certainly not his prettiest performance ever, you can see that he really does take a turn for the better on the off-leash portion of this BH. Right here, he breaks for a moment and goes back into position. So going forward into our next trial, we're really going to do some more on-leash work and make sure that he can perform for me as well as he did on this off-leash part, because if he could have given me this on the leash, I'm pretty confident we would have passed. Stays with me nicely on the run here. That nose to the ground, we need to figure out how to fix that and fix that quickly. Lagging behind. The most painful thing of this for me to watch is just all of that sniffing and inattention, because without a toy or a motivator, I've always really struggled with keeping this guy's attention, and that's really something as a trainer and a handler I'm going to need to work that out, and quickly. So we move on into our positions in motion, and at the end you'll hear the judge critique me that I gave some handler help there, and I was critical on this, but looking back at the footage, I certainly did look over my shoulder. So I need to really train myself as the handler not to look back at the dog, because that would have been some points in our favor there for sure. Move forward to the plots in motion, and this was a very clean exercise. Then we take our 30 paces out, and this recall I was quite happy with, because Colt tended to bump me a whole lot in our training, and this was a pretty clean recall back into the finished position. Yeah, very solid recall, very nice, and I was pleased with that. And he really does have some really nice clips in this BH, guys, and I do feel like we're really close, and at the end of the day, I am a professional dog trainer and should be held to higher standards. So we just got to keep moving forward. We're going into the long down. And you're definitely going to hear in the critique in the end that a lot of the judge's feedback was more so on the handler than the dog. And one of the things I certainly agree with was, this was my first time, there was a certain element of nerves, and that is something I'm really going to develop in myself, because there's a lot here we simply can't blame the dog for. I counted probably a little less than a handful of times in this video I did give a repetition of command when I wasn't supposed to. I will say there was a time or two I repeated those commands for the sake of sacrificing the points and keeping him with me, because I knew his head was not all here today, 100% from the moment we stepped on the field. So we're going into the long down, and we're in this position for a good 8 minutes. So we're going to speed this up to avoid the monotony of having you watch this. I make a mistake here. I'm not supposed to be facing the dog. You need to be facing away from the dog. And these are things, again, as a handler, I need to just gain by experience. So full disclosure, guys, this was the most excruciating, awkward, painful 8 minutes of my life. I was absolutely certain, like guaranteed, that when the other handler recalled their dog, that he was going to completely break. So for half a moment when he maintained that plots, I thought I still had a small chance in hell of passing this thing. But unfortunately, fate was not on our side on this particular day. So we go back to him, and we get ready to go in for judging. So we'll listen to what the judge has to say, and then I'm going to give you guys a little taste of where he's at today currently, and talk about a little bit what we need to do to prepare for this October trial.
Oh, sits. I'm Justin, this is Colt. Checking in. Very good. Let's go over here and we'll do this. Okay? Yeah. Okay, so.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, so our last dog today is Justin, Colt, and thank you to Carolyn for bringing out Rondo and doing our dog in white. Yep, welcome. So what we see with Colt is a dog that really does know a lot of his exercises, but I think his handling is very good. So in your healing on leash, I have to count all those extra commands.
Okay.
And every time I hear it, I have to count it.
Okay.
So your dog performed his exercise pretty well. The handler had problems with the leash, pulling on the leash, extra commands. the dog could clearly be more attentive and heel a little more correctly, but a lot of the problems were just handler error, okay? So that's something that you can easily practice and clean up. So that exercise, unfortunately, with all the extra commands, then that's insufficient. Okay. And we have the same problem off leash. The leash comes off, and your handling improves, your dog improves. Your heeling looks very nice in the heeling off leash, but there was still a lot of extra commands. And at one point, something happened, and you lost him for a second. You got him back,
Right.
but because of all the extra commands, that pushes that also into insufficient. Your sit out of motion. There was handler help to sit. And he should be a lot more attentive once he's sitting, he holds his position. The down with recall, he downs correctly, but then he sniffs, and he should be more attentive to you. But then he had a very nice recall in front and finish. And the down under distraction, you had handler help with your leash to get him into basic, but then your down was correct. He sniffed and was a little restless in his down, but he basically held it. When you return to him, you need to have him sit up into basic position before you pull your leash out.
Okay.
And then, unfortunately today, he did not go into basic position for you.
Okay.
Okay. So unfortunately today there are not enough points to move on,
Okay.
but you're very, very close.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm confident if you can control your talking that you're going to pass the next time.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Congrats.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, so now real quick, without any equipment at all, just with agitation collar and a leash, we're gonna run through his routine real quick. We're gonna speed this up, that way you don't have to be burdened with watching the whole thing. See where he's at right now, and then we're gonna do a little recap of that whole thing. Okay guys, so just gave you a little look at where we are today. No training equipment on, really hot weather, and you can see we're almost there. So like I said, I was a little bit disappointed with the results and the turnout of this, but let me know what you think down in the comments below, because I really do think at the end of the day, guys, this was a BH. Now if this were an IGP1 going into that, I understand we need to be much more sharp, but you know, what I've seen from other handlers and performers on the field, I feel like we should have passed that BH. So definitely I want your feedback down below. Give me some advice what we need to do to move forward, and aside from getting to more club situations where there's more distractions, I do think there's a big component too that there's some relationship building that needs to take place here for sure. So thank you for watching, and we'll catch everyone soon. We'll see you on that field in October.